So I just wanted so I just wanted to start off this video by saying everything is pre-taped. All of these clips are from about honestly 2 months ago, and I haven't had time to edit it. So I have not left my house. I'm still staying inside. This is an old video. And that being said, enjoy. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. So right as we stepped on campus, the first thing I noticed was that there were so many people in their business uniforms, riding their skateboards, riding their scooters, their bikes. There was just so much youthful energy, which I loved. It seemed like everybody was bustling around doing something important. So for my tour at UCLA, we had a friend who was actually in the acting program who gave us a personal tour of just the theater facilities, which was super helpful. But for USC and UCLA, which we toured later in this video, we did a general tour of the whole school in a group. We had two tour guides. The girl was a major in English. I want to say creative writing too, English teaching, something like that. And then the guy had a minor in dance. I don't remember what his major was. So they took us around the whole school, and I can say the architecture at USC is very nice. Lots of bricks, lots of good vibes. There are a lot of students. We saw 2 passing periods, and you could tell the difference between passing period and class time, that's for sure. And USC is a private school, so they did talk about how they have an 8-to-1 student to teacher ratio, so it's very small. The sign said, mental health, let's talk. That does mean that it is way more expensive, but also something I found at USC compared to San Luis Obispo, which is not a private, is that the privates have way more grants and they're willing to meet you halfway more, so you don't end up paying the ticket price as you would at a Cal Poly or those things. This is a sports hall, by the way, so go sports! So then we finally made it to the art side of campus. Right now we're passing the film department. Then we passed the music and dance buildings. Then we made our way through the Arts Plaza, which was very reminiscent of the UCLA Arts Plaza, and down to the theaters. So from what we saw on the tour, there's one performance space and then there's one movie theater. Our tour guide talked about a class that she took in the film school because you can take different classes outside of your major, which is one thing they promoted a lot at USC, was that you can go outside of your major and take basically whatever you want as long as you're taking a BA degree. So she talked about a class, I forget what the name was, but basically it was like appreciation for movies, and they would watch all the new movies from the new season and get to talk to the directors and see a behind the scenes like take of the movie basically. So she was saying like Frozen 2 came and previewed at their theater before it went into theaters, and other movies that I'm not thinking of right now. And she said that class is very popular, and it's that theater, I think she said it's the only one where movies are released before their release day to non-celebrities. Plus there's the whole talkback thing, so that's a whole nother reason to take it. But one thing I did find interesting was that there was not a lot of talk about the acting program, and I totally because they're not acting majors, but a lot of people in the world told me that USC is great for film acting. They're like, film acting, USC, like, you have to do it because it's so close to the film industry. But there really was not that much talk about film or Hollywood really at all. She did say that the nice part about taking a BA and being so close to Hollywood is that you can take an internship, not just for theater or for Hollywood, but for anything. She said it's so close to the business and there's a lot of connections with the USC people and LA vibes. So there was not a lot of talk about the TV side of acting or even the theater side of acting when we got to see the theater. And another thing I thought was really strange was that there was only one theater building. I looked on the map and I think there was another small space, but we didn't see it, and they introduced this building as like, it is the only one in the whole school. So that's basically it. Long story short, I could go here, and it's not because I'm bougie rich. All the students seem to say that it's super easy to have the price lowered and that you're not actually paying, what is it, like $100,000 a semester, which could not do that. I think it was a nice campus, and there's a Trader Joe's near the dorms, so that's a plus. But I feel like I like UCLA better, and I don't really know if that's just because we got a more specific theater tour, so I actually know more about their theater program. I did end up getting some bulletins to learn more about exactly what they offered. So they offer the BA for theater and then a BFA. It's in acting, a BFA in acting and in musical theater. And the BFA is the difference between the two is that a BFA is more concentrated. So a BA, you could have a minor, you could do a more focus on education, whereas when you do a BFA, it has more classes, more focused things that you don't get in the BA. And it's way more work. So it's almost double the amount of credits, which is crazy. So that is the one thing that I do know about their program is the BA, and the BFA is twice as much work as the first one.
Bruh! Are you serious? Can you stop, please?
Then it was time to go home.
Felix the cat. The wonderful, wonderful cat.
We got boba on the way home at Half and Half Tea Express, which is the superior boba place. They do hot honey boba, and I get the taro slush, which, the best order, hands down.
We're going to tour San Luis Obispo today. Technically tomorrow, we're going to an Airbnb today. So we're gonna road trip. We're getting gas right now, by the way.
Never can tell what lies ahead, for all that we know, she's already dead.
Into the woods to get the thing that makes it worth the journey. Into the woods to see the thing.
Cal Arts.
Not forgetting my
We took a road stop at Trader Joe's. We stopped to stretch our legs and see this gorgeous mountain view. Finally, we reached our Airbnb in Grover Beach. We were low-key scammed, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
This beach apparently you can park on it? Okay.
So after we unpacked, we went into downtown Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and just explored some of the shops. They had this cute little vintage antiques place and lots of just fun little shopping stores. There's also a mission in downtown, so if you ever need to go to church, it's right there. And they had this fun little river. It was like down beneath everything, and it just got some good nature vibes in the downtown. We saw this Elsa dress at a fabric store, and I asked my mom if I was the real Elsa, and this little girl like whipped her head around and she was like looking for it. It was so cute. There were so many ice cream shops. We must have seen at least 5 overpriced ice cream places, and they were all full. And then for dinner, we went to the only pho place in the entire town, which is kind of a deal breaker for me, not gonna lie. It was like intensely expensive and not that good, and I felt so bad for the waiter. It was like rush hour, and there was only one waiter and one cook. It was really, really sad. But we went to this store called the Brown Butter Baking Company, um, and they just sell little cookies. And we ended up talking to one of the employees for like 30 minutes, and she's from Orange County. And she has a sibling who's exactly my age who goes to one of the schools that I know a lot of people from. So I was like, that's crazy. And so she got to tell us about her experience. She said she really loved it, but she did say that it's like very small town vibes. And Orange County, we love a good boba. And there's no boba shops in Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So that's a con. It's a gum wall. It's 100 times more disgusting than it looks online. Ooh. Here's my outfit. I don't have a belt and I'm mad about it. We're gonna go get some bread. The one nice part about our Airbnb was the only thing it was close to was walking to the beach with the cars on it and this cute little bread shop where they make all the bread. So it was this guy and he owns the bread shop and another restaurant, and the bread shop supplies all the bread to the restaurant and itself. And then it was time to tour the college. Again, we were in a big group. We had one student tour guide, and she showed us all around the school. They had a lot of cool stuff like that climbing wall and a student-run newspaper and radio station. So Cal Poly is a polytechnical school, and their motto is learn by doing. So in all of their majors, they learn by doing. So they do activities instead of just classroom-based learning, which I thought was really cool. But there is a huge focus on STEM, which if you were trying to do STEM, I feel like this would be a great place to go. This is where my physics teacher went to school, and he's great, so it must be a great school. But I just didn't feel like it had a great arts environment. Here's the PAC. It's Performing Arts Center, and that's where they have all their events. They said they have a lot of live events, so they have bands come in from all over the place, small bands, and perform. So it seems like it has a great like arts as a hobby kind of environment, but I felt like it was a great place to build a rocket ship and not as much to study theater. We do have a friend who graduated from there, and he's a great actor and he's a teacher now. To like disrespect or hate on his path, I don't feel like Cal Poly San Luis Obispo was the place for me. Also because the environment kind of feels like home, which you'd think is a good thing, but the drive is so far. It took us like the whole day to get there. And for me, it's like if I'm going to go that far to feel like I'm at home, I would rather just be close to home so that if I need anything, I can just go home, which is an opportunity that I have with USC or UCLA. Plus, I just felt like their arts environments were better. And then it was time to go home.
Those knife cuts. Sweetie, what is that? But you can overnight camp in the daytime, in case you were wondering.
When I'm feeling sad, I watch all those people who make.
For this post-credit scene, we have the story of the audacity of the Airbnb lady. Ma'am. So for our trip to Cal Poly SLO, as the fancy kids say, it was supposed to be everyone in my family. So me, my mom, my dad, and my brother. But my brother ended up having a basketball tournament, like end of sport tournament, so they couldn't go. So originally it was going to be the four of us, so we got like a little house that's for four people. And my mom wanted to take the train up there so that we wouldn't have to drive. It would be faster, like da 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 da. So she finds this house on Airbnb and she like contacts the lady and she's like, "Hi, like here's our situation." This was before the basketball thing. And she's like, "We want to take the train up there. Like, is your house near the train station? And like, could we get into town or to the college walking, on a bike, like public transportation? Is it applicable?" And the lady goes, "Yeah, 100%. So then we get there, and it's just me and my mom. And her house is like right next to the train station. Like you could walk from the train station to the Airbnb. But it's not even in San Luis Obispo. Like, and we're not familiar with the area, so I think my mom just like trusted the lady when the lady was like, "Yeah, like, yeah." But it's in Grover Beach, which is completely outside. And it's like in the middle of nowhere. Like there's nothing around. There's like the bread shop, the beach, and that's literally it. And and so when we drove into town, it took like 40 minutes. And this lady had told us that like, "Oh yeah, you can just walk." Like it took 40 minutes on the freeway. And then also, like, she was just being, like, kind of rude, not gonna lie. Don't mean to hate on her, but, like, we couldn't use the gate. There's, like, a gate where you're supposed to go park your car, and we couldn't figure out how to use it. And, like, when we first got there, she was like, "Do not mess up the gate, because, like, if you do it wrong, you will break it, and you will pay a $500 fee. Like, don't even." And so we're like, "Hi," like, we called her. We're like, "Hi, we don't want to break the fence. Like, we can't figure out how to get our car in." And she like got all upset and she's like, "I'm sorry, I can't help you, like da 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 da, it's not my fault that you can't do it." And I was like, "Ma'am, like, okay."